You wanted to see me, Mr. Wheat? Be good. Mr. Whitten, I'm going to Iron Box. I represent She's suing you for sexual harassment.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The program is on. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is indeed a great pleasure for us to welcome everyone in this session. This is the opening session of second IOUCRIS, second International Conference for International Open University. This is 2022, so this is our first conference held in 2021. In this session, we'll have our speeches from our Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor. We'll listen from our deans, and we'll have our two keynote speakers. So in the beginning of this session, as a part of my responsibility, I'm going to welcome you formally to this session, and I will say a few words. The Honorable Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, and Deans of International Open University, IOU, keynote speakers, distinguished guests, paper presenters, and audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very pleased to see that with the efforts of the conference organizing committee and supports from almost all corners of the university, IOU, the second international conference, IOUCRIS, International Open University Conference for Research and Integrated Sciences, is now a reality. We had a dream for the last 6 months that we'll hold our conference in August, and now it is a reality. I must appreciate the participants for their efforts to prepare the research papers and PowerPoint presentations for the conference. My heartfelt thank goes to everyone, including the people in the conference secretariat and other key staff of this university who worked around the clock to make this conference successful. Department of Business Administration has been given the responsibility of this conference. However, we have received supports from other departments as and when we needed. Heads of departments or their representatives will chair the sessions of respective tracks and programs. This is a unique leadership role, like the role of the session chairs, to make each and every session successful, especially for timely completion and successful presentation. This conference has created an opportunity for collaboration and networking for research excellence, which is also the theme of this conference. For myself, I had to coordinate with various departments, divisions, sections of IOU, and also I received numerous calls from different parts of the world, from different participants, including this morning from Malaysia, from Middle East, from other parts of the world. So what a nice compliment. When they contact us, I feel it's a real pleasure and compliment to support them. So some authors collaborated with other colleagues to submit joint research papers for this conference. There are many benefits to attend this conference. Audience or other presenters may bring new suggestions to your research work. Those who are presenting, your colleagues or other scholars will bring suggestions on your research work that can create a new dimension in your research, which you might not have considered earlier. You may be contacted by other scholars to collaborate with you from another part of the world after the conference. Also, publishers may show interest in your work to publish your presentation, publish your research in a book or book chapter. So they may propose you to convert your research work maybe in a full book. Finally, I must thank the authors who have submitted their research papers and took the huge pain to prepare their research work and presentation for this conference. I also appreciate the initiatives and supports from our other friends, colleagues, and team members. And also, I would like to thank the Directorate of Research and Publications to make this conference a huge success. I hope the experience from this conference will be able to organize bigger and better conferences in the coming days, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dear brothers and sisters, at this stage, I would like to run a video speech from our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Barry. Please wait for a few seconds when I run the video of our Vice Chancellor.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Distinguished researchers, academics, students. Alaikum.
Can you hear the sound?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Distinguished researchers, academics, students, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the second International Conference of International Open University Conference on Research and Integrated Sciences, IOUCRIS 2022. This conference has been organized by the Department of Business Administration of IOU. Inshallah, I'm confident other departments will also organize similar conferences in due course of time. This conference has drawn the attention of scholars from all over the world, and I'm very pleased to know that approximately 100 papers will be presented out of the 116 papers submitted for the conference. In addition to the paper presentations, the conference will also run a keynote session. IOU combines quality with morality at an affordable cost. IOU is a truly international academic institution that has academics and students from all over the world. At IOU, students can study at their own pace, gain knowledge and qualifications that include employability skills. A significant number of our students get employment immediately after their graduation. Besides teaching, this university is committed to research excellence by doing research, giving research training, and publishing scholarly journals. The second IOUCRIS 2022 is another evidence of our commitment towards research excellence. I pray for the success of this conference and hope you will benefit from the knowledge and experience gained by participating in this great event. I commend the organizers. I thank all those who have contributed, and I want every one of us to succeed. May Allah bless you all. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
After this speech, excellent speech from our Vice Chancellor, who encouraged us and commented our initiative to make the conference a success. At this point, brothers and sisters, we will listen live speech from our Deputy Vice Chancellor and Conference Chair, Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan. Brothers and sisters, let's welcome Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan.
Thank you, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman. Distinguished researchers, academics, students, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I recorded actually earlier on this brief speech in case if there is some technical problem or something may happen. So just as a backup. But it's always, for me, it's always really very good, and I feel very much pleasure when I am with my brothers, sisters, and students, and I talk to them directly. So let me be a little bit, with your permission, let me be a little bit informal, I would say, rather than very formal. Because I am with you, directly talking to you, this is, as I said, my great pleasure. I'm really very pleased to welcome you in this second international conference of our university. And I'm thankful to all participants, keynote speakers, researchers, and all guests, everyone who are attending this conference. I'm especially thankful to keynote speakers, Professor Francisca Yahya, our head of Department of Psychology, and Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam, head of Graduate School of Management, International Islamic University, Malaysia, for their time and for their efforts and for their excellent contribution, which you will see, inshallah. I also highly appreciate our organizing committee. I can understand all of us, we can understand there is so much background work, always, to organize these conferences. International Open University, which was founded by Sheikh Bilal in 2007, I always say that this is a very unique university in the world. It is very unique in the sense that each and every subject which we teach here, we teach in an Islamic way. Whether it is mathematics, IT, or any other subject, you name it. So many times these, areas are considered like a secular disciplines, but for us, everything is Islamic. And this is the uniqueness of IOU, to spread this knowledge, Islamic knowledge, for the benefits of not only of students and our graduates, but wider communities, and not only the wider Muslim communities, but also the whole humanity around the world. So in this context, IOU is actively engaged in research and also in research training and publishing. Although we are, we started these activities recently, but Alhamdulillah, everything is going very well, and we are progressing very fast. This is all your prayers and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah, that with the collaboration with other organizations and institutions, everything is going very well, Alhamdulillah. We are also very keen to improve, as our Vice Chancellor already mentioned, employment opportunities based on our education and research and training which we provide to our students, and once they are graduated, so that they could have good opportunities and good future for them, and also good opportunities to serve the Ummah, inshallah. As Dr. Shafiqur Rahman and our Vice Chancellor also highlighted, that again, just to re-emphasize this, that we received 116 research papers, which are 3 times more as compared to previous conference. And inshallah, we hope with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that each coming conference would be more and more than the previous conference. And we have this plan that each and every conference in every semester, every department, they will organize the conference one after another. I'm highly thankful to our Department of Business Studies, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman, and also Dr. Afroza, our head of Director Research and Publication, that they and their teams, they have done tremendous work to organize these conferences. Next conference, inshallah, would be organized by our other department in partnership with these 2 departments, inshallah. So these are like milestones for us, for our development. Regarding publishing these, the findings of the conference, the research papers, etc., all of us, I am also personally very keen, and we always say to participants, our students and graduates, please do, this creative work. And we have a well-established research and publication department, and we would be very much pleased to publish your quality work, inshallah. And there is a lot of opportunities we have, whether these are research papers for our journals, or if you produce a book, monograph, or even if it is a chapter for an edited book. So everything. And also in this conference, there are some papers which will be presented in Arabic. So that's also another good thing. And we, based on the quality of these papers, inshallah, we would also consider to publish these, maybe either in the form of research papers, some in one way or another, or maybe we would also consider to publish, if possible, in the form of an edited book. So these chapters can be, or these papers can be as a part of, like chapters in the edited book. So this is what, we always, pleased to offer these opportunities. At the very end, now, I must say once again, all of you, thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your families. And please enjoy the conference. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dear brothers and sisters, we are thankful to the Deputy Vice Chancellor for his encouraging speech. I remember I joined this university a year ago in August 2021. And soon after I joined, after 1 week, I had a meeting with the Deputy Vice Chancellor, and he told me that he has a dream that this university will organize international conference. So within a year, we can claim that we have organized 2 conferences, and I'm sure that the dream of our Deputy Vice Chancellor has come true. Alhamdulillah. Also to note that Sister Francisca is, because of sickness, she could not attend this conference. So we have requested Professor Baig to deliver the keynote speech, and he has accepted it. So he will be delivering his keynote speech in this session, inshallah. So at this moment, I would request our Dean, Faculty of Liberal Arts and Sciences of International Open University, Professor Dr. Raufu Wedapo. I'm not sure whether I can pronounce correctly, Professor Raufu Wedapo, to deliver his speech as a Dean of Faculty of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Professor Raufu, let us welcome Professor Raufu in this session.
Institute of Technology, New Bedford, Lecture D17.
Is Professor Raufu, if Professor Raufu is not available at this time because of technical reasons, I would now request our another Dean, Faculty of Islamic Studies, Dr. Muhammad Anwar Shahib, to deliver his speech. Dr. Muhammad Anwar Shahib. Dr. Anwar Shahib, Can you hear me? If not, then I would request our Director for Research and Publication, Associate Professor Dr. Afroza Bulbul Afrin, to deliver her speech as a conference coordinator. Dr. Afroza Bulbul Afrin.
Honorable Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellors of IOU, distinguished guests, keynote speakers, honorable faculty members and staff, researchers, paper presenters, audience, and my beloved students. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very excited to welcome you all to the second International Conference of IOU. This conference will run for today and tomorrow, the 26th and 27th of August, 2022. The objectives of this conference are to create opportunities and foster a research culture among our academics, staff, and students. In addition to offering quality teaching, IOU also focuses on research excellence. We regularly organize workshops and training on various issues to support our staff and students to increase their research skills. We also publish a quarterly peer-reviewed journal titled Journal of Integrated Sciences to demonstrate our commitment to research. So please participate in the conference activities and enrich our researchers with your valuable comments and suggestions. You will be happy to know that today we have very special sessions for our researchers, where two distinguished academics and researchers from IOU and outside will deliver their thoughtful sermons. I will request all of our researchers to be very attentive to those sessions and to be equipped with the knowledge that will be provided by the scholars. And really, it will be a great opportunity for us to hear from them. I'm also delighted to announce that all full papers submitted to second IOUCRIS can be considered for publishing in our Journal of Integrated Sciences, subject to peer review. Those who could not submit a full paper due to time constraints may submit their full papers by 31st October 2022, even later on, to be considered for publication. The second IOUCRIS is our second international conference, you know, and credit goes to the Department of Business Administration for organizing such a big conference, whereas the Directorate of Research and Publications is in the overall management of the conference. I pray and hope that such a great initiative will be continuing in the future, organized by other departments, inshallah. We are open to publish and to make some collaboration and to build partnership with other academic and business institutions to co-organize conferences in the future. Please join with me in prayers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us the ability to make the second IOUCRIS a big success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Afroza Bulbul Afrin, for your encouraging speech. We can see our keynote speakers, our session chairs, our colleagues, they are all present. Professor Raufu is the next person to deliver a speech. So Professor Raufu, if you cannot unmute, could you please leave the session and join again so that the issue is resolved. So we'll be waiting for another few seconds for Professor Raufu to join us. The next speaker is Professor Raufu. Professor Raufu, I think you can start now. Professor Raufu, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, I think.
Sheikh Anwar Sahib.
Yeah, this is Sheikh Anwar. I was just testing my mic. Sorry about that. I sometimes have issues. Barakallahu fikum.
So, Sheikh Anwar, we are waiting for Professor Raufu to deliver his speech. If there is any difficulty from his side, I will invite you to deliver your speech as the Dean of the University from your faculty, on behalf of your faculty. Professor Raufu, can you hear me? I think there are some technical issues from Professor Raufu's side. Okay.
Now?
Yes, we can hear you now and we can see your picture.
That's very good. Okay, I'm very grateful. There's
Right.
a problem, technical problem here. I've been here before the commencement of the program. I'm very happy, very delighted. Respected researchers, faculty members of staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Praise be to Allah, the bestower of knowledge, who in his infinite mercy made this moment a reality for us. You are all welcome to the second IOU conference on research and integrated sciences. The university and especially the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Sciences are always interested in bringing people from different fields and walks of life together to discuss issues and ideas towards finding solutions to various world challenges. This conference is one of the ways to achieve this objective. I'm highly delighted seeing topics of articles submitted for the conference reflecting collaborative researches. This development has the capabilities for exchanging ideas across disciplines, learning new skills, and bringing higher quality of results among others. As our research activities are presented in this conference, I have no doubt that all participants will have exposure to diverse perspectives and increased understanding to broad range of careers, both within and outside science. Individuals with similar interests gather today to share ideas as findings will be presented by students and academics. This will enhance business networking and industry best practices to offer professionals the opportunity to learn from peers and leaders alike and enhance useful connections. I will therefore encourage further collaboration and network for excellence in research as the conference team suggested. I wish each and everyone a fruitful participation and presentation as we try to use research to bring benefits to mankind. Once again, you are all welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Professor Raufu. We are delighted and encouraged with your valuable speech. One of our keynote speakers, Professor Rafiqul Islam, is already with us. We'll listen to him soon. Before we go for the keynote speech, we have our another dean, Dr. Muhammad Anwar Sahib. I will request him to say a few words in front of us. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let's invite Dr. Muhammad Anwar Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Barakallahu fikum, our distinguished guests, organizers, all the professors, and all the doctors and all the mashaykh and the students, all of you. Barakallahu fikum. Yes, it is a moment of joy for all of us to be here in this beautiful forum under the banner of conference, under the IOU University, trying to promote, which is one of the most important assets which we all have, and that is al-ilm, knowledge. And we know that the very first command of Allah was Iqra. And we know Innama yakhsha Allah are those who are scholars, who have the knowledge, who are the students of knowledge. So all of these comes as something of essential and important. And that is what we are trying to do here. As Dr. Bilal always says, Hafidahullah, changing nation through or by education. So this conference is one of those ways to do it. Of course, Alhamdulillah, this is only the second one for us, but we had to start somewhere. And there we go. We started number 1 and 2 just came, just rolled in just like that. And the rest will come also, inshallah. And I take my hat off for all those brothers and sisters who took part, in fact, to organize it, which needs a lot of effort. And I know how much it takes. Barakallahu fikum. May Allah bless you all. May Allah reward you all. May this conference be a successful one. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make this among those rewards through which we gain the Jannah, Jannatul Ala al-Firdaus. Wa barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So with this speech from our Dean of Faculty of Islamic Studies, Dr. Muhammad Anwar Shahib, with this speech, our formal speeches for this conference is over. Brothers and sisters, this is the time to listen from the keynote speakers. At this point, we are delighted to invite our keynote speaker from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam, Head Graduate School of Management, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Now, I invite everyone to join this session because this is a keynote speech, and I know how valuable to listen from a learned speaker like Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam. Let's welcome Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala ashrafil anbiya al-mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Dr. Cherno Omar Berry, Honorable Vice Chancellor IOU, Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan, Honorable Deputy Vice Chancellor IOU, Associate Professor Dr. Shafiqur Rahman, Head of Department of Business Administration and Conference Convener, Professor Raufu, Dean of Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Professor Associate Professor Dr. Afroza Bulbul Afrin, Director Research and Publications IOU and Conference Coordinator, distinguished guests, fellow keynote speakers, researchers, fellow participants, paper presenters, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the organizers for inviting me to share some ideas on the topic which I am asked to deliver, that is publishing in high impact journals. So thank you very, very much. May Allah bless you all. I'm indeed glad and honored to be here in presence of all of you and August researchers, fellow participants and paper presenters. So I have been given only 30 minutes, though the topic requires much more time, but I will be very precise on this topic. Just few ideas I would like to share, and hopefully that will be useful, especially for our fellow students who are embarking or who are carrying out research, and they will be looking for publications in good prestigious journals. So without further ado, I need to share my screen so that I can use my PowerPoint slides. host disable participant screen sharing. So I need to be enable the screen sharing option.
Now you have got the screen sharing option.
All right.
And you don't have to be precisely 30 minutes. You can take another 4 or 5 minutes if you need. No problem.
Okay. All right. Is it visible, the PowerPoint
Yes,
slide?
we can see your PowerPoint slides.
All right. Okay. So as I just mentioned, the title of my talk will be publishing in high impact journals. Dr. Shafiqur, is there any question and answer session after the talk so that I can finish accordingly?
Yes, we will allow not more than 5 minutes to ask questions.
All right. All right. Okay. So publishing in high impact journals, I am Rafiqul Islam. I belong to Department of Business Administration, Faculty of Economics and Management Sciences, and it is from IIUM. I also head of Doctor of Business Administration program to our Graduate School of Management. So the presentation outline will be introduction. Obviously, for anything, we need to go for introduction, then format of an article. And in this item, I will be speaking most of the stuff. Format of an article. Finding a suitable journal is very, very important. Submission outcomes are important, and also the high impact journals, especially Web of Science, Scopus listed journals. So importance of publications. Price of, if we ask anyone, what is the price value of an article published in good journals? Is it $1,000? Is it for $50,000? Is it $100,000? It depends. My own experience, I'm sharing that I have been working here for last 25 years, and I got my offer assistant professor 25 years ago just from one publication in a good journal. So that publication enabled me to join in this prestigious university, and since then 25 years I'm working here. So it is very difficult to put in numbers the value of an article. It is invaluable. So your wonderful work will not be known to the rest of the world unless you get it published. So you can see this picture that someone is speaking and then audience is very huge. So yours is also the similar thing. You publish your article in a good journal which has a very good visibility so that the rest of the world knows your work. Type of manuscripts or the papers. It could be conference paper, research note, short communication, concept paper, research paper, which could be quantitative. Also, it can be qualitative or can be also mixed. A review paper, also case study. Format of an article, of course, title, abstract with few keywords, which are essential most of the cases, then introduction. Then introduction should have statement of the problem, research objectives, and research questions. Research questions, research objective, as we do in a thesis, is not like this. Especially if you give research objective, then you don't need to give research questions. Either one you can provide. Then justification of the study and significance of this. So what is the benefit of this study? What is the contribution of the study in the body of knowledge? Then literature review, methodology, data analysis. We can call as results, and then separately discussion. Sometimes results and discussion together, but more often than not, it should be separated. Results and discussion is a separate things. Then many journals, especially business-related journals, they require managerial implications. Managerial implication, then conclusion acknowledgement, and then bibliographic references, and then appendices. Then appendices, let me put it this way. All right. Okay, the way we write a research paper, in general, the title, abstract, keywords will be not many words. So you can see the fish head. The bulk of the paper, the stuff will be here. That's the introduction, methods, results, and discussions, the bulk of the paper. If there are, let's say, there are maximum, most of the cases are 9,000 words. So out of 9,000 words, almost about 8,000 words should be here. And then, of course, we have conclusion, we have acknowledgement, references, and appendices. What is introduction? We have to state what is the problem and why do we need to carry out this? And then literature review, what has been done and what can be done, that is the research gap. We must be very careful about highlighting the research gap, not only in the research thesis, but also in the research paper. And methods, what did you do? How did you do this? Results, what did you find? And discussion, what does that mean? Title, the title must be short, clear, focused, and accurate. The title plays a very vital role in citation. Electronic searches are based on the title and keywords. So when we coin that title, we must be very careful so that it is the essence of the whole talk or whole material which will be dealing with this, and also keywords. Now, usually the title of the paper is in between 7 and 15 words. Sometimes it can go more than 15, but it is not good. Clear, mention all the key variables that will be investigated. The dependent variable, main variable should be mentioned in the beginning of the title or somewhere in the title. Then focus on accuracy. The topic must be specific and must encapsulate the content of the paper. That is very, very important. The content of the paper must be encapsulated by the title and should not contain rarely used abbreviations. It's better to avoid the abbreviations. And remember, the readers are potential authors who will cite your work by the title. As you know that when we try to find out the related work for our work, that means for literature review, when we go to online databases, what do we actually do? We usually actually see the title, and if we see the title is interesting and relevant to our topic, then we download the article. So the title is very, very important. Then I will give some examples of the title, like writing high quality papers, views from researchers. This could be a title of a paper. Determining key capabilities of a firm using analytic hierarchy process. A decision aid in warehouses site selection. So it is very, very clear. Employee motivation, a Malaysian perspective. That was the title of some of our paper. How can managers reduce employee intention to quit? Note that the title can be also in the question form. Title that are poorly formed, the analytic hierarchy process and Dar el Hikmah, it is not clear actually what is all about. Application of MCDM approaches in airlines industry. This is also not very clear. What is the content of the paper? Abstract. Abstract is another extremely important part. The editor, when we send a paper to a journal, the editor firstly will, of course, will read the title and then the abstracts. And this abstract actually is so important that from the abstract, he or she will know what is going to happen in the whole paper. So the abstract must be very, very well written. Abstract should have all the necessary components of your paper, and many times there is a limit. For example, in the science, they don't allow more than 150 words. Likewise, Emerald is about 200 words. So most of the time it is within 200 words, and it should be very, very professionally, extremely written extremely well. So the better the abstract is written, the better is the acceptability of the paper. At least the desk rejection is there. So there are many cases in the high impact journals, they go for desk rejection, means the editor reads the paper, reads the title, reads the abstract, and then he will understand that what is going to be in this paper, and based upon that. So if the abstract is very well written, then there is a possibility that you pass the desk rejection stage. Then need for the study, that is very, very vital. You must be careful about putting it, the need of the study like this. I give one example. Yet, despite being acknowledged as one of the major challenges faced by higher learning institutions, few researchers have attempted to explore the issue in depth. So there is a need for this study. So you need to highlight this in your paper. Another example for need of the study, that showing the importance of this research, you somewhere in the introduction, you need to put this. So the importance of this research, highlight the unsatisfactory current situation. That's why you want to do this research. And also what is the need for this research? Somewhere it has to be highlighted. Significance of the study also should be mentioned in the introduction part, that what is the potential practical policy implications of your research, intellectual merit, how your research will make an original contribution, how it will fill gaps in existing research, how it will extend understanding of the particular topic, the area which you are researching. Then it comes literature review. Literature review is a time consuming, but it's a very, very vital part of any research paper. Review all the relevant literature in your area, especially those that have direct impact on your study, I mean, related to your study. Start with a broad background and then narrow it down to your field of study, that means more specific. And we emphasize, I also have been editor a number of journals. So we emphasize the recent articles and make sure that you provide most of the papers, not only in thesis, but also in the paper within the last 5 years. Cite only relevant references, otherwise the reviewer may not have a clue what actually you are writing. So the reference which you are using, that must be very relevant and relevant to the topic and recent ones. Then comes the methodology. Identify the population. If it is survey research, whether qualitative or quantitative, we have to identify the population, then sampling. Then we have to find out the unit of analysis, sampling procedure. We have to develop the instrument for quantitative as well as qualitative. And do not forget to go for pre-study and pilot study. Pre-study means whether the questions are correct or not. So usually pre-study is done by the experts. So when we construct a questionnaire, we have to get it validated by 2 academicians and 2 industrial, the practitioners. Pilot study, these 2 are really important for validity and reliability. Then we also need to specify the data collection process and make sure that if it is a quantitative quantitative research, then the quantitative method must match with your research objective. So here are some quantitative methods which we can apply. Multiple regression, SEM means structure equation modeling, IPS stands for important performance analysis, ANOVA, MANOVA, logistic regression, analytic hierarchy process, cluster analysis, data envelopment analysis, and so on. These are all frontline quantitative methods for business related research. Avoid using personal pronouns such as I or we. It is better to avoid, though there are people who use it, but it's better to avoid. Data analysis part must be based upon the research questions you have formulated, and in the data analysis we produce the results if it's a quantitative, and the results could be in this format like table. And many journals, most of the journals, I will say they use APS style. So APS style is not necessarily the references. APS style is also applicable for how we prepare a table to present the findings like this, and also diagram. Diagram also has a APS style format. So we have to make this using APS style format. Then discussion. I find that this is a very hard, but it is doable. It is a relatively hard compared to the easiest part is the presentation of the results. But then we have to relate the findings with the literature that we call discussion. So the answer, the question posed in the introduction, whatever research question has been framed, so we have to make sure that we have answered those research questions. Correlation of your finding with the existing knowledge, discrepancies between new results and previously reported results. Okay. Yeah. Discussion and relating to existing literature like this. It seems that Asian workers are not much concerned about the appreciation of their work done compared to the above factors. This is in sharp contrast to their counterpart in the US. So that is the way we write discussion, means our findings should be compared or contrasted with other people findings in the same, the related area. Then conclusion, we have to identify the key findings and the applications, and it should not be the summary of the work done. Actually, many times we make this mistake. It is just the summary, but conclusion is not the summary. It is the conclusion. What is the conclusion of your work? So that has to be highlighted. And we must make sure that whatever is put forward in the beginning, that has been achieved, and in the conclusion it is mentioned. Like in the conclusion here, that what is your contribution? You must make very clearly make your contribution. What is the contribution? This paper presents a structured framework of determining the key capabilities using analytic hierarchy process. The HP is utilized due to its ability for taking into account both. So another one is we view our framework as a tool to generate guidelines for strategic decision making, such as capability development or outsourcing non-core. So somewhere very clearly and categorically, you need to mention your contribution in the conclusion part. Okay. Then acknowledgement. It is good to provide acknowledgement if it is a funded, then it is compulsory. That we acknowledge the funder, and also we can acknowledge any friend, any fellow colleague who have helped. It is good to put the acknowledgement before the reference section. After acknowledgement, it will come the references, and references are usually like APS style, Harvard style, Chicago style, Turabian style. Most of the time we use APS styles. Many journals also use Harvard style. So we have to see the journal and which APS style, which style they use. And please make sure that when we have written a paper and it is in APS style and we communicated, unfortunately, the paper has been rejected. Then we send to another journal. That journal uses Harvard style. So we have to change the APS style to Harvard style. So please do not send again with the journal which uses Harvard style, but your article is in APS style. So please remember this. Papers that high impact journals publish address a challenging problem whose solution has considerable impact on the discipline. That's the type of paper the high impact journal publish. Demonstrate considerable familiarity with the topic and its literature. Express the problem with mathematical modeling, visualization, and empirical experiment. Well written, complete, good use of English, clear formatting, high quality graphics. Please take a special note here that language of your paper, the English must be excellent. Many times, as a reviewer, we review papers, and recently I reviewed 2 papers. Both I have rejected, unfortunately. And one of the reasons is extremely poor English. So make sure that you write a paper and spend some money, or you can use Grammarly as well, but it has to be proofread. Language editor, it is my sincere advice to especially the students who will be publishing. Please take care the language of your paper before communicating to any journal. Strictly adhere to the standards of research in the discipline, develop an innovative solution. High impact journals, they require this innovative solution. Discover something new, counterintuitive, or controversial. Work at the state of the art in the discipline. Okay. I also will suggest that you identify some very well-written paper in your area and you can consider that as a model paper. So whatever the components, the way of writing, the analysis type, just you try to, the format you can follow a very good paper in your area and published in a like say Web of Science journal or even a Scopus listed journal. All right. Having said this, next one is having multiple analyses. It is very difficult indeed. It is very difficult to publish in high impact journals. So the paper has to be really, really very good and enriched. And I will not say sophisticated, but sophistication is one of the issues you need to keep in mind. And I will suggest that you can go for mixed method study, like qualitative as well as quantitative within the same paper, and also mixed quantitative paper, but mixed quantitative methods, like I suggest you, like quality function deployment and analytic hierarchy process. So QFD has been used to so many thousands of journals, AHP also thousands of papers, AHP also thousands of papers. There are also many papers who can be combined, QFD and AHP. So when it's a mixed method, mixed quantitative method, then it actually, you get very good solid findings, and the rate of acceptability, percentage of acceptability will be higher, certainly, I believe. SEM plus ANOVA plus MANOVA. Don't just simply use SEM, use some other. Recently, we communicated one paper and it was SEM. So the journal editor rejected it because it is just the conventional, but then we requested the journal editor. I said that it is possible to incorporate the responses vis-a-vis the comments of the reviewers. Then the editor agreed. It was a very good journal from Emerald. And then what we did, we added logistic regression application in the same paper. So SEM plus logistic regression, like I have mentioned here. So try to, if possible, then you have multiple findings, multiple objectives. Because the high impact journals, especially Web of Science journals, the paper really has to be very, very good. I mean, enriched paper. So this is another advice. Then covering letter is important, though it is online, but still you need to put a few words. I have some sample, but due to interest of time, I'm unable to show you here. But a good covering letter is important, and make sure that there is no language mistake in this covering letter. And in the covering letter, you can highlight the main theme of the paper, because the editor will, or chief editor will read your covering letter. So the language has, the language in the sample, the covering letter is also important. I have mentioned the language of the articles must be proofread. No concurrent submission. This is unethical. Then you can, you can mention in the covering letter the language has been proofread, no concurrent submission, and you can also provide possible referees. But it is not essential. If the journal requires you to provide the referees, then you have to provide the referees. Finding the right journal, I will say it is an extremely important matter. I cannot say any much how important it is finding the right journal. Many times, I will not say most of the time, many times our journal choice is wrong and we get rejection. They say that it is beyond our scope. So therefore, it is important to choose the right journal. So we have to do some research, access the website and read the aims and scope of the journal. If the aims and scopes are okay, then you can proceed with the submission of this article. Dealing with reviewers' comment, there could be outright rejection, unfortunately, especially for a Web of Science journal. The desk rejection is very, very high. I attended one conference and the chief editor was the keynote speaker, and he mentioned that in my journal, the rejection rate is 95%. My God, you see. So outright, because they have plenty of submissions, so they have to reject. Rejection does not mean that paper is in poor quality, but simply they have limited, scope for if we consider the submissions and then number of papers can be accepted is a tremendous difference. So really they look for the high quality papers, and also the number of reviewers also limited. So it cannot be too many papers cannot be reviewed for the good paper, for the good journals. Also major corrections is not rejection. There is a high chance that it will be accepted. Minor correction is almost accepted. Just you address the comments of the reviewers, then inshallah there is a very high chance that the paper will be accepted. Common reasons for rejection: the study is just confirmation of previous research that is not novel. The problem tackled is too shallow. Poor experimental design. I mean, the methodology is not clear. Targeted journal is not suitable. As I mentioned, the scope is not suitable for this paper, and weak writing, presentation, and language. What leads to acceptance? You will see here ACCEPTANCE. So acceptance means attention to details. Check and double check your work. Means before you submit, then read. And when you make sure that the paper is okay, then you can only submit. Consider the reviewer comments. English must be as good as possible. Presentation is important. Take your time with revision. Acknowledge those who have helped you. New, original, previously unpublished. Critically evaluate your own manuscript. Ethics rules must be obeyed. So there also, we have nowadays predatory journal. These journals, I don't know where from it comes, but I do see people are publishing, but I strongly against publishing in these kinds of journals. Ethics, this is my last slide. Ethics in publishing, of course, I am sure everybody knows about the plagiarism issue. Duplicate publication, of course, cannot be done. Duplicate submission, as I said, is unethical. Fabrication of data, highly unethical. No proper acknowledgement of the people who have helped you. As I just mentioned, that acknowledgement section is also important. So I think with this short time, then I have tried as much as possible to highlight the main points of writing a research paper. So thank you very much. Once again, wish you happy and successful publishing in high quality journals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam, for your nice presentation. We are delighted, and this is really a good guide for us. And those who are already in the academia for a long time, this is a refreshment or refresher of mind. I would guess at this point, before we go for question and answer session, I would invite our Deputy Vice Chancellor to make a few remarks about this keynote speech.
Thank you very much, Professor Rafiqul Islam.
Most welcome.
I'm actually really very pleased with your lecture, mashallah. And this is, I'm sure, is very useful for our young researchers and also for our students. As you can imagine, one brother has already asked the question, and you have replied in your slides, and Brother Saidu also asked about the slides, which shows that how helpful your presentation is.
Okay. What is the question? Let me read. Submission to multiple journals at the same time is not recommended or not.
Allow us, we would love to share
Some
your
journals
slides with them.
clearly mentioned that whatever is submitted to them is not submitted. Yeah, submission to concurrent journal, more than one journal is unethical. We should be avoiding this. There is no question about this. Then is the slides going to be shared? I will share the slide to Dr. Afruza, and she will do the job. Our research and publication, it is always pleased to help. All right. Any other question?
Okay, if no other, okay, Dr. Saad Tajuddin. Dr. Saad Tajuddin,
Yes.
raised his hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So let me commend Professor Rafiqul Islam for that wonderful presentation. I really get a lot from his presentation. So my question is on your format of the article, item 8, you stated managerial implication.
Yeah.
So I want you to maybe expatiate on that.
Sorry, come again. To
you hear me? Under your format of your article, item 8. Item 8, if you can go back. Yes.
Yeah.
You talk about, or you stated managerial implications. So I want you to expatiate on this very point.
Okay, managerial implication means if it's a research, business research, and we claim that this will be benefiting the organization, this will benefit the managers. Now, how it will benefit the managers and what the managers are supposed to do in this case. For example, we find that appreciation of the work done is one of the motivators for employees. If the employees are doing good job and those employees are not appreciated, then they will be demotivated. So what is the managerial implication here? Manager must make sure that the employees are adequately appreciated for their job done. Even open thank you in open meeting is a very good appreciation, which many managers even forget to do that. It does not cost any money for appreciation many times. So managerial implication means what the manager should do from the findings of your research, what the managers can modify the way they are doing. So what else they can do to, according to your findings, if the managers do in this way, then that will give the organization greater benefits. So that's the basic meaning of managerial implications. I hope I have addressed.
Yes, thank you. You have really answered my question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Then from Adamu from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman and your team for this successful opening ceremony.
What is your question?
Now,
please.
My question is regard to technicalities and terminologies of having opportunity for publishing in high impact journal like Scopus. I face several challenges. If I send a paper, several times they rejected the paper. So I want to know if there is any advice that I get from you in order to improve my.
Okay, got it. It is a very general question. The paper has been rejected by multiple journals. That means maybe your paper may be very good quality, but you are not communicating to the right journal. That's what the choice of the journal is very important. Look at your paper theme, paper topic, and the journal which you are communicating, whether they match or not. This must match. All right. Now, suppose that it matches, but still it is rejected. That means whatever the editors they want, some of the important things are missing in your paper. For example, the research objective is not clear. Your methodology is not very transparent. How you collected the data, maybe you have not provided the profiles of the respondents. How did you analyze your data? You have not given, you have not talked about your reliability of the instrument. Discussion part is not there. Research gap is missing. So there are many possibilities of the defects, so-called quote-unquote defects. So you must be carefully looking at all this. And also I mentioned that the language. Some journal like IMA Journal of Applied Mathematics clearly mentioned in their scope that no matter how good, how how good quality of your paper is. If the language is poor, we will not process that, even we will not process your paper. So the language is so important. So brother, you need to see all these points. Once you are done, you communicate to a journal where the scope matches, inshallah. Don't get disheartened. The rejection happens to, I will say, everyone. So if one journal rejected, of course, they will give the comments. They will give the comments and the suggestions, and you improve, and then you communicate to another journal. Inshallah, the paper will be accepted.
Alhamdulillah, for these wonderful observations and
thank you. Thank you, Amdo. We have another question.
Yes. Just very briefly, with the permission of Professor Rafiqul Islam, you mentioned very important point in the beginning when answering the question. Selection of the journal. Brother, when you select the journal, you need to be very careful. If you see, all the major publishers of the world, Oxford University Press, Cambridge University, and you name it, thousands of journals are being published in every field, So, and they have themes and sub-themes and further sub-themes. So please look at those journals, make a good effort to select the right journal for you. And that would help, inshallah. Yeah, that's very, as I said, very important point, which highlighted by our respected professor. Thank you very much. Sorry for interruption.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll take one more question. I'm sorry, we have a lot of interest, but further what you can do, you can send us a message, and we will probably send those messages to Professor Rafiqul Islam if we find it appropriate. We will not be able to take everyone's request, but we have a question that is from Professor Raufu. Would you please explain?
Yeah, I see the question here.
Yes.
Mr. Raufu, for the benefit of everyone, can we please distinguish between Q1, Q2, etc. journals and their rating? For the benefit of everyone, can we please distinguish between? I don't know.
Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Everyone has a question. What is the difference? Could you please explain?
What is the difference? Difference is in terms of the impact factor. Every journal has impact factor. So what we can do, it is the statistical analysis. Let's say there are 1,000 journals. So there will be 1,000 impact factors. So the first 25%, the best 25% in terms of impact factor will be Q1. And then the next 25% will be Q2. It's called quartile. Q means quartile. Quartile 1, quartile 2, then quartile 3, then quartile 4. So the Q1 journals are the top journals in that particular area. So that's the basic difference in terms of impact factor.
I would like to thank Professor Dr. Rafiqul Islam on behalf of this conference. And I would like to add a few words that it is a really great pleasure for us to be connected with International Islamic University of Malaysia. I myself had an opportunity to visit this university several times, especially once I met Professor Datu Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Idit. He was a rector of this university. 2009, on behalf of International Islamic University, I had a meeting with him for a joint collaboration. How university students from both universities, we can have a student exchange program. It was a, mashallah, good effort and good partnership. So maybe in future, we can have another opportunity and partnership between IIUM and IOU, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And with that hope, I would like to thank you again for coming.
Most welcome.
And Dr. Afroza, do you want to say a few words? Do you want to add something?
No, I don't have any much more compliment, but I'm very delighted having Professor with me, and for all of your kind information that Professor Rafiqul Islam was my PhD supervisor, and I will say that he was the best supervisor that I have ever seen, along with my colleague, with my fellow PhD students. So, alhamdulillah, and I pray for him, and definitely I'm very delighted having him. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Brothers and sisters, we have our last speaker. Professor Iftikhar Ahmed Beg is now ready to deliver his valuable speech. We'll be listening to him for next 30 minutes, and then before our next concurrent sessions, we'll have 10 minutes break. So I invite Professor Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Beg, Head of the Department of Education at IOU, to deliver his speech, keynote speech. Let's welcome Professor Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Beg.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqin, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wal mursalin, khatamun nabiyyin, shafi'il muznimin, Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad, wa ashabi sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. My dear shuyukh, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, and worthy organization, conference organizers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Topic of my presentation here is, as you have seen on this screen, it is basically research culture in universities for improved research. In fact, I would say that basically it is not as that research paper which contains too many references in which we can say that I have done a very high profile research. But basically this research paper will be of a significant and practical nature on which I will be throwing some light. These days, most of the universities are working and encouraging research activities. But the basic sense and the spirit behind this promotion of this research culture is probably not there. What I have found in my personal experience, probably it is not there. The dissemination of knowledge started with the creation of the human being. When Allah Almighty created Adam alayhi salam and the angels objective and submitted that we are enough for your praise, Allah Almighty told some names to Adam alayhi salam, Allamal Adamu Isma Kulluha. And this process of dissemination of knowledge, which was obviously revealed knowledge, continued till the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was though revealed knowledge was culminated, but the process of learning continued. And the present age in which we are living is known as information age. Here knowledge is not only pouring it, but there is a knowledge explosion. Day and night, we are having a lot of knowledge, and a lot of knowledge is at our finger click. But is that knowledge suitable for us? Can we disseminate all the knowledge which is produced on those websites, or it is given on their sites? And we, especially we the university teachers, who need to disseminate the latest knowledge, updated knowledge, and we have to prepare the civilized citizens and those citizens who are a useful person in our society as a scientist, as a business manager, as an IT specialist, as a teacher, as a businessman, as a politician, as a psychologist, as a psychiatrist, as a doctor, as an engineer, everything. But what I have found in my long experience of university teaching is that spirit lacks behind. So today I decided to give my talk on that topic, what we are doing with research. And before going further, I would just spend a few moments on explaining the basic spirit of research. We know the definition of research, we understand the research, but today I would like to make the spirit of the research understandable to the participants and the viewers of this speech. A common thing which is said about research is a systematized effort to gain new knowledge. And my point is, what is this new knowledge? To gain this new knowledge. And next step is that research is a systematic process of collecting and analyzing information in order to increase our understanding of the phenomenon about which we are concerned and interested. Here we are concerned with the phenomenon of teaching and learning. So we have to understand what the knowledge we are going to add and what the knowledge we are going to collect and what the knowledge we are going to disseminate. How useful it is, how authentic it is, and how we can do with that. And the third point is that research attempts achieve a systematic interrelation of facts by experimentation, observation, and logical arguments from the accepted postulates and a combination of these three in varying proportions. Now, what are the basic postulates of research on which I will be building up and elaborating my talk? These three postulates are: it relies on empirical evidence. My next talk will be basically based on this importance of this empirical evidence. It utilizes relevant concepts. It is committed to only objective considerations. It presupposes ethical neutrality. It results into probabilistic predictions. The methodology is made known and it aims at formulating scientific theories. I have listened the last few moments to my first speaker, Professor Fikul Islam. Due to Juma prayer in my area, I could not listen to the whole speech. But crux of his talk, I have come to know that was the publication in the journals. And basically, the publication of the journals needs to have the relevant concepts, to have the ethical neutrality, to have the methodology which is well known, instead of copying, because the emphasis on research in the current days had encouraged the culture of copying. That's why this plagiarism came into being, and now we have to check the plagiarism, and it is coming under the Copyright Act. But emphasis on the research activities in university gave rise to the copying things. Now, how research helps us in teaching? It helps to identify alternative courses of action. What are those courses of action? Those are basically our teaching methods. When I was a student, there was only one teaching method, and that was chalk and talk. But now with the course of action and with the passage of time during the last 50 years, now so many methods have entered. Now we cannot do without ICT. But whether ICT is equally useful at everywhere, or it is useful in certain cases. Basically, this is the research which will tell us, instead of blindly following and using ICT, we should use ICT where it is useful. This is what we can come to know after conducting a research. Otherwise, we will be misusing the resource. And my next point is, it helps in economical use of research. Wastage of resources is useless. So we can go for those resources which resources are admitted to be useful through research. It helps in problem identification, problem of understanding of our students, problem about classroom setting,
problem about student problems, problem about our communication, problem about institutional environment, problem about the society environment, which affects the culture of the universities, and how we can meet with it. This we can come to research. It solves methodology problems, which method is useful, where that method is useful. It solves our management problems as well. It can guide our management to how they can deal with certain problems. It can solve our decision-making issues in HR as well. It solves various operational and planning problems of the organizations and provide the basis for all government policies in our education system. In universities, research helps us for decision-making. Decision-making of the students, what career is useful for them, which career they should adopt. It is a usual phenomena that every year in most of the countries, especially developing countries to which we belong, me, my university, most of our colleagues belong, are producing every year a portion of the unemployed people because they don't understand why they are studying, which careers are coming in future, how they can make their future career. Neither our students are aware of it, and unfortunately, most of our faculty members are also not aware of it. This is a thing which we can come to know from the research, from consulting research publication, from studying research, etc., etc., and we can come to know about the careers. For professionals in research, it means a source of livelihood. We university teachers have also research grants, and we can make our livelihood better through these research grants and conducting research and producing useful knowledge. For literally men and women, research means development of new styles and creative work. And for analysts and intellectuals, research means generalization of new theories, which can contribute to our knowledge. In management of the universities, it is chiefly concerned with decision making and its implementation. Students are not very easy to handle these days. So university management has to think about the students' problem, about the students' demand, about the students' understanding. So through research, they can come to know about now the changing genes of our students. These decisions are to be based on appropriate studies, evaluations, and observations. And research provides us with the knowledge and skills needed to solve the problems and to meet the challenges of a fast-paced decision-making environment. And by this last point, which says that we need knowledge and skills to solve the problems, to meet the challenges of a fast-paced decision-making environment. Basically, this is termed as professional wisdom. So this research basically provides us, the university teachers, a professional wisdom. And this research, since it is based on empirical evidence, so the integration of professional wisdom with the best available empirical evidence is making decisions about how to deliver instruction can contribute to improve teaching at university level. The combination of both professional wisdom and empirical evidence, it can facilitate our decision making, and as well as it can contribute to our improved teaching. Now, what is professional wisdom? Professional wisdom is the judgment that individuals acquire through experience. How we can gain experience? We can gain experience either through research or through experience. And gaining the wisdom through research is a bit cheaper than gaining experience through research, because research activities cost much. So we can avoid costly mistakes by taking the benefit from the research conducted by other people, so we can have the develop our professional wisdom by studying from the findings of the other people from research. And increased professional wisdom is reflected in numerous ways, including the effective identification and our incorporation of local circumstances into instruction. Normally, what we teachers do is, especially the teachers of the third world or developing countries or underdeveloped countries, they read the books from the European authors. They give the examples of the European authors and European culture, which are not suitable to the local culture. Students don't understand those examples. Students don't understand those phenomena, which are not localized. So through this professional wisdom, we can localize the circumstances and we can incorporate them into our instruction to make it interesting to our students. And this empirical evidence, it is scientifically based research from fields such as psychology, sociology, economics, and especially from research and educational settings. When we conduct the research and education settings, and you know, these days, teaching is a combination of sociology and psychology and economics. So combination of these, we can get a very good combination from the research, and we can incorporate these things in our teaching to make our teaching interesting. And objective measures of performance that are used to compare, evaluate, and monitor progress in professional and academic settings. Because in research, especially when we do experimentation, we can compare different methods of teaching. We can evaluate the effectiveness of the different methods of teaching, and we can monitor the progress of our students during their experimentation. Why are both needed? We need professional wisdom in education to adapt to local circumstances. I have already explained it. To operate intelligently in the many areas in which research findings are either not available or they are incomplete. We can get these research findings and we can develop our own concept on those research findings which are yet incomplete or which are not available, and we can decide our own course of action in that case. And we need empirical evidence in teaching to resolve competing approaches about different methods of teaching, to generate cumulative knowledge, and to avoid trade and personal bias. The quality of evidence, for quality of evidence, we have to do one, randomized trials, experimentation, correlational studies, causal comparative studies, and case studies. In experimental studies, normally we do the randomization, and they give better results because the experimental studies claim about the effects of an educational intervention and outcome after tryout. We don't follow blindly the things which have been said. We try out them in academic educational setting. We manipulate the independent variable, and then we see the effect, and we can say, yes, that it is. And trial of two or more conditions that differ in level of exposure to educational interventions, as we have discussed, that we can try out different methods of teaching. We can try out different educational settings. We can try out different curriculums, etc., etc. And this is through experimentation that we can come to know whichever is more effective for us, instead of blindly implementing that and wasting the resources and wasting our upcoming generation. Random assignment to the conditions and test for differences in the outcomes after exposure to the experimental setting. Why randomization is done? It assures that the participants being compared have the same characteristics. All people know that there is a pre-test and post-test, and in the pre-test, we ensure the thing that the participants have the same characteristics. And before the intervention is launched, they were not different in those characteristics which we are going to study. There are equal chances that smart, motivated, experienced, etc. students have the same probability of being in group, either of the groups. Students have the equal chance to be either in experimental group or in the control group. And without randomization, differences between two conditions may result from pre-existing difference in the participants, which refers to my point number 1. Now, evidence-based instruction is help from literature search, and which is applicable definitely on different search engines. I have referred those 2-3 search engines like Eric, Temple, Collaboration, Psychoinformation, etc. The second point is quite authentic, and that is test authenticity of the literature with respect to relevance and qualities. We should not go blindly for a thing. We should first check the authenticity, then we should check whether it is relevant in our culture, relevant for our environment, relevant for our content, relevant for our environment, and then we should try to implement that. And second is the quality, that there should not be no compromise on the quality. And search for already stored, sorry, this is the typographical mistake. Search for already stored evidence, and there are so many evidences which are already there, which are found in different research engines, and people, all of us are very well aware of these search engines which are available. Now, I am coming to now integrate the research with our classroom teaching. While locating research findings, we should avoid unconditional conclusions. Sometimes researchers give unconditional conclusions. They give hypothetical conclusions, which are not usual here. So we should get it tested, whether they are authentic or not, and conclusions involving hypotheticals. Research is a practical activity. We do develop a hypothesis before conducting the research, but we do our conclusions after testing that hypothesis, and the conclusions are based on the test results of that hypothesis. So the conclusion should not be hypothetical, but they will be based on the tested hypothesis. So, and the conclusions that diverge from evidence. Evidence is something else, and conclusions are given something else. And usually, I have the experience, and most of my senior and working colleagues must be having the experience, that while we study evaluate the thesis of different students, we locate contradictions between the findings and the tables, findings and the data, because normally people, the researchers, give the findings and the conclusions of their own choice, and they don't bother about the data while they formulate the conclusion. So we should find out that there is no divergence of the evidence in the conclusion. Strong calls to action. Mixtures of opinions with evidence. Evidence is authentic and opinion is not, so we should rely on the evidence. Low prestige publications outlets, Professor Peak has also already discussed that, so I will skip it. And publication outlets with ideological agendas. It is the time of ideological war as well. We know that since the world has become a global village, ideological war is also in its peak. So we should consult those searches, those engines, those sites, those articles, those findings which are free from ideological agendas. This evidence will not make the decision, but we have to be skeptical. For every learning, we have to be skeptical. This is my one of my personal experiences. When I started my PhD, in my class of psychology, the two teachers which were taking up that course, very experienced, highly learned teachers, but we could not understand initially what they were saying. 2, 3, 4 days have passed, and practically a person like me was hitting his head with the blows of hand fist after the class was over. What they have said. Finally, after a week, one of the teachers said, smiling, "Have you started confusing?" When we said yes, then he said, "No, yes, now you are on track." Because skepticism is the gateway to the learning. So, making decisions, we have to be skeptical, and after test of those expectations, we can come to a good decision. Consider other ways of achieving goals as well, because there are so many alternatives and we have to choose an easy alternate for our students and for ourselves as well to make our words convenient and understandable. Consider consequences and local circumstances. I have already discussed it. And consult with experts who understand evidence before making costly decisions. We have already discussed that wastage of resources is a big loss. But particularly when we are doing these costly decisions with our generation, with our youth, with our upcoming leadership. So we should have good understanding of the evidence before we launch it to the students, and we have to face it, God forbid, costly decisions. And for objective measures, we should find or develop local data. We should conduct research ourselves for a practical purpose. It should not be theoretical purpose. We should not go for publication of the articles which don't have any practical utility. We should develop our own data, and the recommendations are based of our own findings and our own local data. They are more practical. Measure and measure frequently. Things are changing daily. Genes are changing daily. Demands of students are changing daily. Knowledge is exploring daily, and knowledge is pouring daily. So we should not stop our measurement. So we should measure and measure frequently after some equal intervals. Stagger the introduction of an innovation across the sites. We should try it in different settings and compare between and within. We should compare the things in our own university and between different universities, and we should have collaboration with different universities to have our experiences shared and make the environment better. And this was last from me. Thank you very much for listening to me. I am here to answer your questions. If you could understand anything, you can ask the question. You're most welcome.
So thank you, Professor Beg, for your excellent presentation. Can you stop the screen from your side?
Okay.
Right. And I think the presentation is such transparent and clear. There may not be any questions so far. And if there is there any question? I think no one is asking question because things are very simple and clear. And
I tried to make the things clear, and since I prepared, you know very well that it was prepared in an emergency. So I try to make it very brief, light, and understandable so that it can have some utilitarian value.
All right, Professor. So at this stage, we will conclude our opening session. Our next session will be started in 10 minutes. So I would like to thank on behalf of the organizing committee and on behalf of the university, because we are having this conference, I think more than 50 universities representing in this conference. So I would like to thank everyone, all the participants and all the especially participants in the opening ceremony, our deans, our faculty members, our guests, and our well-wishers. See you in the concurrent sessions. Before that, I would like to conclude. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I will share my slides with
God bless you.
Slide and you can
Okay, can you pass